Recently, I have come to recognize that not just are we rational beings, we are also emotional beings. Since the death of our brother Saul, it has really been a challenging moment for me, especially this past summer. So I decided to spend every single day of my summer reflecting over death, doing a lot of research on near-death experiences, and trying to give myself rational explanations to why Saul had to die. And by the end of the summer, I was able to give myself that satisfaction. I was able to find some comfort in some of the explanations I came up with. And I thought that I was going to be able to handle death in the future, no matter what shape or form it came in. But 2 weeks ago, when I got the news that my grandmother passed, I started rationalizing her death, but then I realized that it wasn't working. I had to give in to my emotions once more. And I realized that no matter what explanation I gave, I still felt the loss of my grandmother. And while I was meditating on the gospel we just heard, I found myself relating so much with Martha. And again, I also recognized that a lot of us could relate to Martha in this gospel. You see, Martha did not doubt that at any moment Christ had the power to raise Lazarus. She always believed that Jesus was a Savior who had come into the world, and that he had the power to raise his brother to life. But then because Martha is a human being, she still had to deal both with her faith and the rationality she was giving behind her brother's death, alongside her emotions. And that is why when Jesus was approaching, she ran up to him, probably to cry and to complain. And as she said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." But even now, I know that whatever you ask of the Father, he is going to grant you. Martha did not doubt at any moment that Jesus wasn't present. Now, sometimes I always thought to myself, well, if Martha believed that Jesus had the power to raise Lazarus and that Jesus was God, then she would have recognized that even at the moment that Lazarus was dying, Jesus was present because God is everywhere. But then what Martha portrays here is that death brings a lot of confusion in us, which is some of the ways that people grieve, through confusion. Some cry. So there's several methods of grieving. But the thing is that we have to acknowledge that it is part of who we are, and we don't just have to dismiss death. We have to acknowledge it and grieve in the different ways that we can. So if we look at what Martha was doing here, we see that it wasn't just portraying a doubt in her faith, but then recognizing the part of her that it's a part of all of humanity. And Jesus did something which is very important that we do, especially at funerals. Jesus did not dismiss Martha's grieving. Jesus recognized that Martha had faith, and that probably what she was going through at this moment was her confusion. And that is why Jesus said, "Martha, your brother will rise again." And she said, "Yes, I know he will rise again on the resurrection on the last day." And Jesus begins to comfort Martha. Jesus comforts Martha by reassuring her of our faith, by reaffirming our faith. And Jesus says, "I am the resurrection and the life, and whoever dies, but if he believes in me, will rise again. Whoever believes in me, even if they die, they will live." You know, this is comfort that Jesus gives Martha. Jesus lets Martha recognize that, you know, your faith does not count for nothing. Now, if we continue to read this gospel, we will recognize that in verse 35 of the same chapter, when Jesus was brought to the tomb where Lazarus was laid, we learn that Jesus wept. And by the way, this was my favorite childhood verse. And the reason was that I recognized that in Jesus weeping over the death of Lazarus, it was a moment that Jesus confirmed his own humanity. Jesus let us know that even though he has the power to bring Lazarus back to life, he is at the same time human. And the way humans react to loss is by grieving. And Jesus, in weeping, showed how much he loved his friend Lazarus. Therefore, the church, conscious of our emotions being part of us and the need for us to grieve when we lose a loved one, sets aside this day, the commemoration of All Souls, so that we can once more remember all our beloved brothers and sisters and relatives and friends and parents who have gone before us, that we can come once more to pray and to continue to hope in the resurrection of Christ. And therefore, brothers and sisters, I invite us to take a few seconds just to call to mind all those dear to us who have died. Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord,
and let the perpetual light shine upon them.
And may their souls and the souls of all the faithful departed, through the mercy of God, rest in peace.
Amen. Amen.